Hey, EverBook Forever clan. This is Chris Hogan, and this is my little attempt at a tabletop video for y'all. When Pastor Fisk and Pastor Wolfmiller started this idea of the EverBook, and we're looking for some, I call them first responders, but the people that just jump right in and give it a try, I thought, well, maybe that's me, except I'm not sure if this will work any better than any of my previous engagements with the EverBook, or with organizing, I should say. Because in the past, some of the things I've tried were things like this big, thick, heavy Franklin Covey thing. And that was okay because you could take pages out of it, but it just didn't quite work well for me. Then I tried any number of day timers, and in this, just a journal, but I thought, hey, maybe all I really need to carry around is a journal where I can be working on, this is back in 2014, but working on various Bible studies and various things and trying to take notes, and I could put them in here, and then I could put them on the shelf and I could reference them, but I couldn't take the pages out, and that wasn't very good. So I thought I need to just give this a try and see if it works. So what I did was I took a manila folder, just a plain old manila folder, and I measured it the size of a piece of half sheet of paper, a little bit larger than that. And then I cut it so that I could fold it along the standard manila spine there, and I could make some noise here for you, so I could get some thickness to it. And then I had an inside area where there was some thickness to it. And then I'd put a half sheet of paper on there, cut around it on both sides, and voila, this is what I ended up with, is my manila folder EverBook, and it's just a starter for me. So I tried it for a week. Mainly, my big thing was how can I keep track of the work that I do for my actual day job and invoice it efficiently. Let me move my coffee cup out of the way there. Hope you saw that. Don't want to spill it, but that's a Table Talk Radio coffee mug. Compliments of Pastor Gagline and Pastor Wolfmiller. So I did this, I cut it. I even put flaps on the inside, as you can see, because once you start putting stuff in there, you want it to stay where you put it. And I thought I need to keep track of job logging so I can do my invoicing. And just this morning, in fact, while I was preparing to do this video, I got a call for some work, and it was perfect. I pulled out a new sheet from my blank pages area. I wrote down some information, which I'll finish filling in later. And then when I finish, I'll put the hours that I worked along the side, got some notes on the back, and I can invoice that, put it in my archive area, and be done. And that would be pretty cool. But within my overall job logs folder, what I did was I created one for my main clients, Chevron, do some video shooting and editing for them. I have another client, and their colors are red-ish, so I made a red folder for them, and they're the only ones I'm working for right now, so that's all that's in there, but it makes my invoicing so much easier. Then I have my projects folder, trying to do the thing along the spine so that I can somehow reference it, but I think I'm going to switch to putting the information more in the lower right-hand corner so I can spread it out and see what I'm working on. Lately, on Saturday mornings, I've been working on a Has American Christianity Failed study, so that's number one. I do my morning coffee posts, so if I have any thoughts about that. I've been working on a Lent 2019 podcast. I'm also trying to get started on a podcast for my Cafe Sola entity. And then, there's the TTR podcasts, and that's where that other page should go, but it's not yet. I have my Reformation Rambling stuff, and we're getting ready to go on vacation, or plan our vacation for next year. So within there's individual folders sometimes. This is my notepad for TTR podcasts. I come up with a title. Of course, we know who the artists are and the album is and the year is every time, so I should probably pre-print that. I write a description as to what's in the show. If they're games, I write the games down. Buzzwords, I write those down. Topics, I write those down. Notes, etc. And then that helps me when I'm posting the TTR podcast. And there's my vacation stuff. Are we going to go here? Are we going to go there? We don't know yet. Here's my Has American Christianity Failed stuff. Just did legalism. I did so well, it's blank. Here's my notes on enthusiasm. And there's some stuff on Lenten, etc., etc. So it's real easy to keep all my projects organized in one little bundle, as they call them. And then I have my weekly schedule. Try and plan out my week as best I can. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Just random notes. I try and keep a monthly look ahead in here. And then I also like to just take notes throughout the day as I'm listening to various things. So I keep this log journal open, and it's got blank pages in it mostly. And I'll write things like, I met this guy named Jack, and I wrote down Jack's story. And then I wrote some notes on enthusiasm, etc. And I keep that in there. And this was my initial attempt at an EverBook. And I thought, how am I going to hold it together? Well, somebody mentioned hairbands, so I got 2 hairbands. Well, they're too small. So what I did was I put a rubber band between them, and then I would just wrap it around the back, wrap it around the other corner, and sort of held it together. It was nice. It was working fine, so I thought, you know what I need to do? I need to expand on that and make it look a little bit nicer. But I didn't want to redo all of this. So what I did was my lovely wife went out and bought me some scrap leather, because I looked around the house and I couldn't find anything around the house that I could just rip the pages out of, at least not yet. I might come up with one. But anyway, my wife went out and bought me some scrap leather. So I cut it to the basic size and shape of the EverBook. And then what I do is I fold it like that and like that. And then I have my EverBook. All good EverBooks need to be held together. Then my wife also went out and got me some hairbands. And the hairbands work much better in terms of just holding the old overall book together. I left the poor man's EverBook on the inside because it gives it a little bit of rigidity when I'm carrying it around. But that's my 2.0 of my poor man's EverBook. At some point in this whole process, I've got a larger piece of leather that I'm going to cut differently. And the reason that I want to cut it differently is I noticed that, I think it was Pastor Wolfmiller, had these flaps that were like this long. They were like huge. And I see the value of that, because eventually you start adding more to your EverBook and it just gets a little thicker until you archive stuff. And when you're doing that, these flaps will just keep creeping out and creeping out and creeping out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create flaps that are fairly longer, at least until and such time as Pastors Fisk and Wolfmiller come up with ones you can buy, at which point I'm probably going to buy one, because although I love this and it's nice, it's a little bit rough, which isn't bad. Anyway, that's my EverBook, my first and second attempt. Here's my pen, here's my coffee mug. Gotta love my coffee mug. And that's it for now. And when I get my 3.0 done, I'll update you on that.